Oh, yeah, I can totally do it. Hey, everybody. Sorry about the wacky phone mount here, but I just heard a wacky story on the news here, and I really wanted to discuss it with people. First, let me just say that I had a wonderful Yom Kippur, very introspective fast. It was good. It was good. It was a good Yom Kippur. I'm looking forward to a good year ahead of me as a Jewish man, and I'm really hoping that 5782 is a good year, better than the last couple. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. I also want to say rest in peace, Norm Macdonald, one of my favorite comedians. Literally a guy that I would watch videos, watch his videos just to keep my sanity in between fares on my big 12-hour shifts. I literally fell asleep watching or listening to a compilation of Norm Macdonald's weekend updates on it was a YouTube video. I'll try to find a link to it, the one that I was listening to just this weekend, and then of course just got the wind knocked out of me finding out that he had passed away. So yeah, it's shocking, and we lost a great one, a great champion of freedom of speech, and just a really funny comedian. So want to move on from there. A story in the news that is I don't understand how people don't find it ironic. The Derek Chauvin trial. There is a new Derek Chauvin trial. Now this guy is already serving lots of time in prison for the murder of George Floyd, and if you followed that case at all, and of course another one of those things where having a little bit of a perspective in law enforcement changes your might change your opinion a little bit on a lot of the situation, just because in law enforcement, especially as a certified taser instructor, police trained, I was a special police sergeant. I even did government contracting, military trained. I have a background and a lot of training in law enforcement, and when it came to taser, it was shocking to find out that the stories of tasers killing people actually killed people on a percentage. Now, this is a weird aside, I know, but I'll tie it back into the Derek Chauvin thing. But they literally said, taser killed this person. 15%. So, I'm not laughing at the tragic situation, but the police in I believe it was a small town in Florida, were tasing somebody who was high off their tuchus on a myriad of drugs. Excuse me. They had a lethal dose of uppers and downers and a pre-existing heart condition, and were being tased by the police. And not just being tased by the police, but being tased to an excessive amount. Like, taser typically takes 5 seconds to work effectively in an average person. If you're an average person you're just having a bad day, and you decide to pick a fight with a police officer, and maybe you don't care if you die. You know, this might be the day you do suicide by a cop. You don't care. If that's the situation that you are in, a police officer pulls out a taser, it will take 5 seconds of 500 volts of electricity to make you snap back into reality and say, oh, I don't want that to happen again. And yeah, these police officers were doing 15 minutes of tasing. They were not 5 seconds, not 15 seconds, 15 minutes of tasing somebody who was out of their skull high. Oh, well, there we go. So yeah, the cops in this town were just tasering the crap out of a guy who was already dying of drug overdose. Excuse me. And of course, the guy died. So in the lawsuits, because the family was suing everyone who they thought had some money, which makes sense. You've got what appears to be a very legit grievance. But the insanity for me was they actually found Taser was culpable for the guy's death. 15%, which is I don't. Okay, I'm trying to tie this back, but if I'm driving my car and I'm driving my car 200 miles an hour over the speed limit drunk, and I get into a car accident, my wife can't sue Toyota over my corpse. Like that wouldn't make any sense. I wasn't using the vehicle properly. I don't think Taser should have been culpable for these idiot police officers' usage of Taser when they didn't use it properly at all. There wasn't any proper usage of Taser. They were improperly using Taser when this person died. So yeah, that police department should have been sued, but but not Taser. And Taser definitely wasn't 15% culpable of this guy's death. My point is, you have a situation with George Floyd's death where the argument being made by the police, by the defense, was like, hey, we didn't kill him entirely. He also died of a fentanyl overdose. You can, look at his toxicology report. And also, he had limited breathing from COVID. He actually had scarring on his lungs because of COVID. So this dude had COVID-19, taken enough drugs to kill a man twice his size, apparently, and then had his breathing affected negatively by Officer Chauvin's knee. So if you were to parse that death up the way they did that Taser killing, you'd basically say, hey, yes, it really, if it wasn't for Derek Chauvin's knee, this guy may have survived, but best case scenario, he would have died of an OD a couple minutes later without a knee on his neck. And it's like, okay, that was basically the argument they were making. And of course, if you look at it the way the Taser thing was, you'd go, well, it kind of looks like it was 33.33% the knee and 33.33% the fentanyl overdose and 33.33% him having COVID before. And, yes, all of those individually may not have killed him, but altogether they definitely killed him. So it's like, okay, you look at it like that, it seems to be that there's an argument to be made. Well, that's not what the court found. The court found that it was 1,000% just Derek Chauvin who killed George Floyd. The toxicology report, forget it. The fact that George Floyd had COVID before the incident, forget it. It was only the 9 minutes of George Floyd's knee Derek Chauvin's knee on George Floyd's neck. That is the only thing that killed George Floyd, and that's what they essentially proved in court. That's what the jury came back with a murder verdict, which I feel it's kind of shocking, because I was like, it seemed to be there was some evidence that maybe manslaughter would have been the better what's that called, the better choice, because Derek Chauvin, they also talked about how this is an actual restraint that they use on people who are being who are resisting. They put their knee on the upper back, sort of the base of the neck, and it doesn't normally restrict the breathing passageway of people. So either Derek Chauvin was doing it wrong, or the fentanyl and the COVID played a role in George Floyd's death. And yeah, they totally disregarded that and said that Derek Chauvin is guilty on all charges, which again, this is another aside I don't want to go down, but they literally said he was guilty of negligent homicide, accidentally killing him, and guilty of intentional homicide. So I don't know how that's possible, that you could you could accidentally kill someone and be found guilty by the exact same people of intentionally killing him, because that's what they said. And I thought, well, that's stupid. So thankfully the judge had his head on and said, we're just going to go with the highest charge, because it doesn't make sense to charge him with manslaughter and murder too. That doesn't make any sense. So they only went with murder too at the sentencing, which I thought, okay, at least somebody with some vishments got in there and changed that ruling. Anyway, moving on, going back to what I was talking about, after they say it was 100% Derek Chauvin killing George Floyd, murdering George Floyd, they then, giddy as school kids, said, and now we get to charge Derek Chauvin, we get to charge Derek Chauvin with another incident where he did the same thing. And I'm like, what? He did the same thing to someone else? Yeah, he did the same thing to a 14-year-old boy for 17 minutes. So wait, so you're saying he murdered a 14-year-old boy? No, the 14-year-old boy is totally fine. But, so you don't see any irony here that you literally just said this man is guilty of murder because he did this for 9 minutes. For 9 minutes while this man was begging for his life because he couldn't breathe. And Derek Chauvin disregarded a dying man's pleas and murdered him by doing something for 9 minutes that he shouldn't have done at all. And now you're going to try him for human rights violations for doing the same thing to somebody for twice as long with no long-term side effects, and didn't apparently, it didn't kill, not only did it not kill the guy, it didn't injure the guy. As I feel like Derek Chauvin should be like all about this case. He should be like, hey, this case absolutely proves my innocence of the other one, because I can pop a squat on this guy for damn near 20 minutes, and he can sit in court against me. If George Floyd hadn't popped half China's fentanyl, then logically he would be able to sit in court against me too. But instead he had fentanyl in his system and scarring on his lungs from COVID. And so when I did this thing that I could do on other people for twice as long without any long-term side effects, I do it to him for 9 minutes and he died. So, how about a retrial? Because you literally just proved my innocence. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of Derek Chauvin. I thought what he did was wrong. I think that hold seemed unnecessary since he already had him cuffed at that point. It totally seemed it seems now, after I'm hearing about this new case that they're trying him for, yeah, it seems like he's innocent. Like, that's, I mean, if you can do this, and they're saying he did the same thing to this guy, the same thing for longer. You're like, don't. Why are you saying that? What? If you don't like Derek Chauvin and you don't like that he killed George Floyd, why are you drawing attention to the fact that other people can totally handle what happened to George Floyd? As a matter of fact, they can handle it twice as long. So, yeah, maybe. Maybe ixnay on the owing attention to this Dre. That's pig Latin for maybe stop drawing attention to this. Because yeah, it does not make, it's going to make the appeal for Derek Chauvin a lot easier, because yeah, you're totally proving his point. All right, yeah, that's it. I rambled on this for way longer than I expected to. I hope you guys enjoyed not having a video of me and just looking at the friggin' nothingness while I rambled here. If you like this could be a new format for Antisocial News, where I just get to put my thoughts out there. Let me know if you like it. Also, thank you for the New Year's, the Happy New Year's from the Profane Prophet. That's very sweet. I apologize, I haven't been keeping up on YouTube recently. So, and anybody else who's noticed that I've started posting some videos, thank you so much. Feel free to like, subscribe, share if you agree with this non-video. Let's just call it a podcast. How about that? Let's just call it a podcast. All right. Cheers.